We're back. This is a Middle Perch live on the internet. A Middle Perch. I am your host, MTK on the MIC. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. I read the words of a few different people. You know, often I think about the fact that I'm Indian. I'm born here in India. Way over here. That's where the Europeans were trying to get when they were headed, west. They thought they were going to come all the way around and they were going to get to India or go off the edge. Why that is. And then when we got here, they would get the stuff that they wanted to get, right? And so when I think about the way they treated the people they called Indians here, my sensitivity to that is heightened. And I care a great deal about the people here because they've been mistreated so badly for so long. And if they had arrived where I was born, would I be also crawling in the dirt, begging them for help and support? That's what I wonder. So my compassion for the Indians here is because there, but for the grace of the fact that I'm on the other side of the world, go I. And let's begin with the religion, which is a major crisis of this whole thing. Here on Columbus Day, we fled Europe because we were being religiously persecuted. What a lie. That's the massivest lie of them all. The whole, idea of them as being pilgrims. No. The vast majority of this happened because once people saw that there was just land here for the taking, indentured servitude began. Just moving here and staking out land began. This has nothing to do with oppression of religion, in Europe. And so then when I started thinking about that, I started thinking about, well, wow, that happened everywhere, right? I mean, and so one of the things I want to do is we're going to read 3 native voices today. And I'm going to tell you who they are and where they're from and some things about them. In advance of that, we're going to begin with Chief Red Jacket. This is Chief Red Jacket, an early defender of the rights of American Indians. The chief of the Seneca tribe was born in 1758 and given the Indian name of Otetiani. When he became chief, his title was Sagoyawata, but his latest identification, the colorful name of Red Jacket, came from the bright red coat given to him by the British when he supported their side during the American Revolution. Red Jacket did, however, come to earn the respect and friendship of George Washington. The Indian leader eventually sought peace with the U.S. government and even influenced his followers to support the United States against Britain in the War of 1812. Despite his lifelong struggle to maintain native traditions against the introduction of white customs. In proud and impassioned words, this spokesman for his people's indigenous culture frequently opposed attempts to bring European values and ideas to his tribe. When Christian missionaries sought to baptize his followers in 1805, Red Jacket rose to speak out against efforts to convert the tribe. So let's begin now. Chief Red Jacket rejects a change of religion. Friend and brother, it was the will of the Great Spirit that we should meet together this day. Brother, this council fire was kindled by you. It was at your request that we came together at this time. We have listened with attention to what you have said. You requested us to speak our minds freely. This gives us great joy. For we now consider that we stand upright before you and can speak what we think. All have heard your voice, and all speak to you now as one man. Our minds are agreed. Brother, listen to what we say. There was a time when our forefathers owned this great island. Their seats extended from the rising to the setting sun. The Great Spirit had made it for the use of Indians. And here we're reading translation, and the use of Indians here is Native Americans. I'm not going to substitute it. The Great Spirit had made it for the use of Indians. He had created the buffalo, the deer, and other animals for food. He had made the bear and the beaver. Their skins served us for clothing. He had scattered them over the country and taught us how to take them. He had caused the earth to produce corn for bread. All this he had done for his red children because he loved them. If we had some disputes about our hunting ground, they were generally settled without the shedding of much blood. But an evil day came upon us. Your forefathers crossed the great water and landed on this island. Their numbers were small. They found friends and not enemies. They told us they had fled from their own country for fear of wicked men and had come here to enjoy their religion. They asked for a small seat. We took pity on them, granted their request, and they sat down among us. We gave them corn and meat. They gave us poison in return. Brother, our seats were once large, and yours were small. You have now become a great people, and we have scarcely a place left to spread our blankets. You have got our country, but are not satisfied. You want to force your religion upon us. Brother, continue to listen. You say that you are sent to instruct us how to worship the Great Spirit agreeably to his mind. And if we do not take hold of the religion which you white people teach, we shall be unhappy hereafter. You say that you are right, and we are lost. How do we know this to be true? We understand that your religion is written in a book. If it was intended for us as well as you, why has not the Great Spirit given it to us? And not only to us, but why did he not give it to our forefathers, the knowledge of that book, with the means of understanding it rightly? We only know what you tell us about it. How shall we know when to believe, being so often deceived by the white people? Brother, you say there is but one way to worship and serve the Great Spirit. If there is but one religion, why do you white people differ so much about it? Why do not all agree, as you can all read the book? Brother, we do not understand these things. We are told that your religion was given to your forefathers and has been handed down from father to son. We also have a religion which was given to our forefathers and has been handed down to us, their children. We worship in that way. It teaches us to be thankful for all the favors we receive, to love each other, and to be united. We never quarrel about religion. Brother, we do not wish to destroy your religion or take it from you. We only want to enjoy our own. That was Chief Red Jacket. And this is likely somewhere around 1805. And now we're going to fast forward to 1854. This is believed to have been delivered on January 12th of 1854. Chief Seattle, the eponym of the largest city in Washington, he led the Duwamish and Suquamish tribes of the Pacific Northwest in the mid-19th century. Controversy still surrounds the words of Chief Seattle. These are believed to have been delivered on January 12th, 1854. This speech to the white man was translated from the chief's native tongue into Chinook jargon and then into English. It was transcribed by Dr. Henry Smith, a pioneer who heard the speech, but who waited until 1887, more than 30 years later, to publish it in the Seattle Sunday Star. Can you imagine how many natives were? And that whole area changed. There were 33 lands. Found the gold at Sutter's Mill, 1848, and they butchered them and reserved them and stuck them in camps. And this speech never appeared until 1887. This is from Chief Seattle. Chief Seattle. Yonder sky, which has wept tears of compassion on our fathers for centuries untold, and which to us looks eternal, may change. Today it is fair. Tomorrow it may be overcast with clouds. My words are like stars that never set. What Seattle says the great Chief Washington can rely upon, with as much certainty as our pale-faced brothers can rely upon the return of the seasons. The son of the white chief says his father sends us greetings of friendship and goodwill. This is kind, for we know he has little need of our friendship in return, because his people are many. They are like the grass that covers the vast prairies, while my people are few and resemble the scattering trees of a wind-swept plain. The great, and I presume also good, white chief sends us word that he wants to buy our lands, but is willing to allow us to reserve enough to live on comfortably. This indeed appears generous, for the red man no longer has rights that he need respect. And the offer may be wise also, for we are no longer in need of a great country. There was a time when our people covered the whole land, as the waves of a wind-ruffled sea cover its shell floor. But that time has long since passed away, with the greatness of tribes almost forgotten. I will not mourn over our untimely decay, nor reproach my pale-faced brothers with hastening it, for we too may have been somewhat to blame. When our young men grow angry at some real or imaginary wrong, and disfigure their faces with black paint, their hearts also are disfigured and turn black, and then their cruelty is relentless and knows no bounds, and our old men are not able to restrain them. But let us hope that hostilities between the red man and his pale-faced brothers may never return. We would have everything to lose and nothing to gain. True, it is that revenge with our young braves is considered gain even at the cost of their own lives, but old men who stay at home in times of war and old women who have sons to lose know better. Our great father Washington sends us word by his son, who no doubt is a great chief among his people, that if we do as he desires, he will protect us. His brave armies will be to us a bristling wall of strength, and his great ships of war will fill our harbors so that our ancient enemies far to the northward, the Tsimshians and Haidas, will no longer frighten our women and old men. Then he will be our father, and we will be his children. But can this ever be? Your God loves your people and hates mine. He folds his strong arms lovingly around the white man and leads him as a father leads his infant son, but he has forsaken his red children. He makes your people wax strong every day, and soon they will fill the land, while our people are ebbing away, like a fast receding tide that will never flow again. The white man's God cannot love his red children, or he would protect them. They seem to be orphans and can look nowhere for help. How then can we become brothers? How can your father become our father and bring us prosperity and awaken in us dreams of returning greatness? Your God seems partial. He came to the white man. We never saw him, never even heard his voice. He gave the white man laws, but he had no word for his red children, whose teeming millions filled this vast continent as the stars fill the firmament. No, we are two distinct races and must ever remain so. There is little in common between us. The ashes of our ancestors are sacred, and their final resting place is hallowed ground, while you wander away from the tombs of your fathers, seemingly without regret. Your religion was written on tables of stone by the iron finger of an angry god, lest you might forget it. The red man could never remember nor comprehend it. Our religion is the traditions of our ancestors, the dreams of our old men, given them by the Great Spirit, and the visions of our sachems, and is written in the hearts of our people. Your dead cease to love you, and the homes of their nativity as soon as they pass the portals of the tomb. They wander far off beyond the stars, are soon forgotten, and never return. Our dead never forget the beautiful world that gave them being. They still love its winding rivers, its great mountains and sequestered vales, and they ever yearn in tenderest affection over the lonely-hearted living, and often return to visit and comfort them. Day and night cannot dwell together. The red man has ever fled the approach of the white man, as the changing mists on the mountainside flee before the blazing morning sun. However, your proposition seems a just one, and I think my folks will accept it and will retire to the reservation you offer them, and we will dwell apart and in peace. For the words of the great white chief seem to be the voice of nature speaking to my people out of the thick darkness that is fast gathering around them like a dense fog floating inward from a midnight sea. It matters but little where we pass the remainder of our days. They are not many. The Indian's night promises to be dark. No bright star hovers about the horizon. Sad-voiced winds moan in the distance. Some grim nemesis of our race is on the red man's trail, and wherever he goes, he will still hear the sure approaching footsteps of the fell destroyer and prepare to meet his doom, as does the wounded doe that hears the approaching footsteps of the hunter. A few more moons, a few more winters, and not one of all the mighty hosts that once filled this broad land, or that now roam in fragmentary bands through these vast solitudes, will remain to weep over the tombs of a people once as powerful and hopeful as your own. But why should we repine? Why should I murmur at the fate of my people? Tribes are made up of individuals and are no better than they. Men come and go like the waves of the sea. A tear, a tamanimus, a dirge, and they are gone from our longing eyes forever. Even the white man, whose God walked and talked with him as a friend to friend, is not exempt from the common destiny. We may be brothers after all. We shall see. We will ponder your proposition, and when we have decided, we will tell you. But should we accept it, I here and now make this the first condition, that we will not be denied the privilege without molestation of visiting at the graves of our ancestors and friends. Every part of this country is sacred to my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some fond memory or some sad experience of my tribe. Even the rocks that seem to lie dumb as they swelter in the sun along the silent seashore, in solemn grandeur, thrill with memories of past events connected with the fate of my people, and the very dust under your feet responds more lovingly to our footsteps than to yours, because it is the ashes of our ancestors, and our bare feet are conscious of the sympathetic touch, for the soil is rich with the life of our kindred. The sable braves and fond mothers and glad-hearted maidens and the little children who lived and rejoiced here, and whose very names are now forgotten, still live and love these solitudes. And their deep fastnesses at eventide grow shadowy with the presence of dusky spirits. And when the last red man shall have perished from the earth, and his memory among the white men shall have become a myth, these shores shall swarm with the invisible dead of my tribe, And when your children's children shall think themselves alone in the field, the shop, upon the highway, or in the silence of the woods, they will not be alone. In all the earth there is no place dedicated to solitude. At night, when the streets of your cities and villages shall be silent, and you think them deserted, they will throng with the returning hosts that once filled and still love this beautiful land. The white man will never be alone. Let him be just and deal kindly with my people, for the dead are not altogether powerless. That by Chief Seattle. And now we're going to go just a little further. Last reading today of Native Americans here on Indigenous Peoples Day. This from the surrender of Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce. Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce, known to his people as thunder traveling to the loftier mountain heights, with bullet holes riddling his robes, surrendered to the U.S. Army in 1877. His words were interpreted by a scout and taken down by an artist for Harper's Weekly, and these are they. Tell General Howard I know his heart. What he told me before, I have it in my heart. I am tired of fighting. Our chiefs are killed. Looking Glass is dead. Tahulhulshut is dead. The old men are all dead. It is the young men who say yes or no. He who led on the young men is dead. It is cold and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing to death. My people, some of them, have run away to the hills and have no blankets, no food. No one knows where they are, perhaps freezing to death. I want to have time to look for my children and see how many of them I can find. Maybe I shall find them among the dead. Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever.